Now, we do love a good roller coaster here in the UK. We've got loads of wooden roller coasters, all sorts of unique steel coasters, and we also even had a coaster manufactured by a railway company. But you know, I've only mentioned a select few of them because we have plenty to go around, 211 to be precise. And today I'm going to take a look at some of these coasters around the United Kingdom and discuss the controversial opinions of whether I find some of them underrated or overrated. I feel like I have a few opinions about this matter that could result in me dying. And not only that, but some of you guys also have some very weird opinions, but I'll get onto that later. And as always, if you do go on to enjoy this video and you want to see more just like this, then please be sure to subscribe to the channel. 1,500 likes and I'll do a second episode of controversial opinions. I know this one will have some controversial opinions in it, but in that one, someone preferred Rush over Stealth. What? Someone literally said that. I don't really understand it. Yeah, hit that like goal and I will do that. And subscribe, of course. Thank you. Overrated or underrated then? Of course, I'm not going to be listing every single coaster in the country and saying, you know what, Octonauts is heavily underrated. And Flying Fish, I'm not even going to finish that because anything to do with that coaster is a bad joke. I'm not going through all of them because, well, that would take me about a year. And sod that. I've basically picked out some of the most well-known coasters we have here in the country, and I'm going to list through them all and tell you which ones I find over and under rated. And we're going to begin on a more positive note, an underrated coaster. And the first on that list is Storm Chaser at Alton Park. It's a fantastic little spinning coaster. Well, not really little. It has some really good forces, some good spinning, and even some interaction with other riders on the train as it spins around. How cool. Hello there. And the theming on that ride and in the area is top notch too. And yeah, I know that Storm Chaser is highly regarded when you talk about Alton Park, but I feel like Alton Park as a whole doesn't get spoken about that much, so Storm Chaser is often forgotten, away to the vanished land. But I'm here to give it the love it deserves. It is a brilliant coaster and I love it, although one that is talked about too much and that I don't love so much. And oh god, when I say this, I'm preparing for the slander, and you may know this opinion from my channel in previous videos, and I would say an overrated coaster is Vampire at Chessington. I'm so sorry. I understand that it's a classic and, you know, it does what it does, but what it actually does, to me, isn't a lot. It just meanders through the trees, and I mean, it has a really good drop halfway through, or towards the end, I guess. It has some really good theming here and there, but I just find the layout to be really lackluster, and it does nothing. It's one of those that I feel has served its time at Chessington. If it were to be removed, I wouldn't complain. And I definitely know me saying that has hurt someone at least. So, you know what? I do just have to not apologise. On a better note, underrated again. And this time for an underrated coaster, I'm going to go for Saw the Ride at Thorpe Park. Because yes, of course, this ride is considered absolutely horribly rough by a lot of people. But me personally, I find there's only two main rough sections, and that seems to cloud everyone's vision of how good this ride is. Some of the elements on this thing and the inversions, and especially that airtime hill as well, and the indoor section alone, that bit itself should be considered a good ride. The theming inside this ride is astronomical, and also there are some really loud shotgun sound effects in the queue line that absolutely make you I don't know, I think a lot of people don't give it the praise it deserves, because it deserves a lot more. We can put the negative reviews aside. Saw the Ride is a great ride, although guess what isn't an awesome roller coaster in my opinion? On the overrated side, Rita at Alton Towers. Now I know there's not actually that many people that do rate Rita highly, but there seems to be a slight minority now that do. And that irks me. But I'll tell you now, I am going back to day one on this channel. I'm going to be slandering Rita for all it's worth. It's so mediocre. It's a bit middle. There's just a lot of people that seem to say it's got insane airtime and really high intensity, but whenever I ride it, I don't see it. Rita is pretty much if you took Stealth at Thorpe Park and got rid of the top hat. So it's basically just shit. The launch is great, sure, the first turn does whack your head a bit, but it's quite whippy, and then the rest is just not very memorable. Overrated, one could say. Although I wouldn't say overrated massively, just slightly. And we're now going to go from Towers further up north by about 5 meters, because we're going on 13. 13, I feel, is very underrated. Yes, the marketing on opening year was extremely exaggerated. And if I did ride it one time and it was only after I signed a waiver because it was that scary, then I probably would say it was overrated. But amongst people now, it seems to get a lot of hate for what I feel like is no reason. The outside section is nice and flowy, the drop may be trimmed to death, but it's still fun, and the drop track itself is amazing, although whenever you go backwards after the drop track, it always feels freezing cold. I have no idea why. I'm definitely saying that it is underrated. overrated by a mile. And that one may be underrated by a mile. I think I'm about to run a mile because of my opinion on this one. Overrated goes to the big one. Then I just see a lot of people say that it's like an insane ride and it's one of the UK's best coasters. Like, hold on, wait a second. Yeah, it's a fun ride, but there seems to be only one redeeming factor. The first drop, because that drop is insane. Like, if you're on the back row, you just get whipped all the way down it. It's probably the best drop in the country other than Oblivion. But past there, it's just a long monorail, as everyone seems to call it, because it's obviously an iconic ride and it's a big ride, especially by the name. But yeah, in points it's just a bit shuffly and it's just weird. I don't know how to explain it. You know, I've got to give props to Blackpool Pleasure Beach because they also have a very underrated ride in Revolution. It is such a crazy ride for such a simple layout. It literally is a drop into a loop that goes back up and then you go backwards and do that exact layout again. And that's it. It's that short, yet it is so terrifyingly good. It scares the heebie-jeebies out of me. And on the underrated list again is Shockwave. This Drayton Manor roller coaster is the only stand-up roller coaster in the UK and one of two, I think, in Europe. And a lot of people dislike this ride. They say it's painful or uncomfortable or a bit weird, you know, and I could see how it's weird, but I don't mind it, you know. I quite enjoy a good ride on Shockwave. Being stood up makes for such a unique experience. I really hope it doesn't go to sit down. Oh wait, but it's not overrated right now, unlike Nemesis Inferno. In my opinion, Nemesis Inferno is a good ride, but it is heavily overrated due to the fact people are ranking it over the original Nemesis. Although technically Nemesis isn't open, so it's actually the only Nemesis in operation. That kind of screws up my whole idea. My plan's been foiled here. You know what, forget it. Nemesis Inferno, you can stay as moderated alongside Shockwave. I don't care. I think what's happened here is I'm losing my mind. So with that being said, it is time to look at your guys' opinion. Let's get into them. Oblivion is so underrated. The best UK coaster. And that is a based opinion, to be fair. Just the way it looks so imposing, but in actuality, it's not very tall above the ground. And then you look beneath the ground and you realise it's actually a 180-foot drop. And you don't come out the other side, you know. Steeplechase is actually a laugh when you go on with your mates. And you know what? I actually back that completely. Everyone always says how Steeplechase is this janky horse ride. I think Steeplechase is very, very underrated because it's just so much fun. The corners may feel like you're about to fly off the horse, but that's all part of the fun of it. Overrated, Wicker Man. Sorry, Dan, but I think it has great theming, but the ride itself just doesn't live up to the hype. Wicker Man overrated. My life's over. No, as I've been saying, we all have different opinions. It's okay to think that, and you know what? You can have that opinion, you know. It's yeah. Colossus at Chessington. My brain just stopped working. The Smiler overrated. If I said this out loud, though, I think the Alton Towers fans would kill me. Well, I've just said it out loud for you. So may the threats come to me. I do get what people mean about the Smiler being slightly rough towards the end, but for me, I think it's a marvellous piece of engineering. Cannot fault it. Overrated Icon, underrated Dragon's Fury. Dragon's Fury I can get behind, but Icon, it just depends what you like really, because I love a launch coaster even if it's not too fast, and I just like flowy elements and airtime and stuff, so Icon's perfect for me. Maybe you don't like the flowy airtimey moment. Valid opinion. Everyone's opinion is valid, other than the Wicker Man one. How have you replied with an image? Well, the Megaphobia is underrated. That is such a true comment. That ride genuinely has some of the best airtime in the UK. Like, it is incredible. Just a shame it's so far away. Hero has a 2.6 star rating on Google. Overrated. What? How is it that high? Is there such a thing as a negative rating on Google? Because it needs to be that. That being said, I am now going to go to Google's head office and tell them to change it to a -4. Subscribe. Good night.